In his address, Mr Hindley said that a group of people with relatively little background or knowledge of the various proposals wish to promote Tillegra. He went on to say it would be totally irresponsible and criminal to select Tillegra. He lists a number of reasons relating to the cost of both schemes. In 1975, the Hunter District Water Board approved the Johnsons Creek Dam. However, the board's latest decision appears to have overthrown that earlier plan. With government approval, the board is looking at building Tillegra Dam when needed sometime in 1997. In conclusion, Mr Hindley said that the Snowy Mountains Engineering Corporation should be asked to update its engineering and costing information on both dams to remove any doubt about which one should proceed. Meanwhile, the Hunter District Water Board has also come under fire again for pollution along Newcastle's beaches. 3 Merriweather residents managed to extract a commitment from the board to publish daily pollution readings taken from the beaches. One of the residents, Mrs April, was so outraged she brought along a sample of the rubbish she'd collected along the beach for Dr Patterson to see. After the contents were examined, Water Board spokesman Mr Ron Hemmings claimed that he was sure the unsightly wastes could not have got through the treatment plant.
No possible way that these gross objects could possibly get through our screens.
But they're still on the beach and in large quantities. Where are they coming from?
Well, I've got no real explanation for that, and they could be coming from some illegal dumping source. I'm not really quite sure on that, and it needs further investigation.
And will it be investigated?
We'll certainly look into it. It appears to be more a council matter to my mind, but certainly between the board and the council we should be able to have a look at this situation.
The Waratah Estate Committee met this evening and made a decision that will be put to a special meeting of the Council next Tuesday. The recommendation is that Kearns no longer be involved and the Council go it alone with the Waratah Estate project. The committee will recommend to the Council that it appoint a project manager to carry out the Waratah development, which will be varied to include more housing. The project manager suggested is Mr John Rippon from Planner West Pty Limited. Problems arose when Kearns apparently tried to negotiate the agreed purchase price for the Waratah site, which is $7 million. The chairman of the Waratah Estate Committee, Alderman Dick Robertson, says he's not surprised with the latest developments.
I'm not surprised in view of the various factors that have emerged so far as Kearns are concerned. I think Kearns were in a difficult position where they went into tender quite some time ago. The economic downturn has been quite significant, and delays that have occurred since they started have been just prolonged, just too much, and there had to be a change in their attitude. They came and they made certain offers with regard to a reduction in the price of the land, which I felt were unacceptable, and we're recommending to Council, of course, that our actions be, the town clerks and my action be confirmed in that regard.
Well, can Council proceed with this scheme alone, considering that it was once thought impossible to do alone?
I don't think there'll be any hesitation by Council in going alone. I think that we're in a better position than a developer would be because we don't have to borrow money on the land. And the interest payments on $4 million are quite considerable under these economic circumstances with high interest rates and so forth. So we've got a better position than Kearns would have. And I think that the people who've offered to do the planning for us and the development for us are the project managers they're going to be able to do it at a less cost than what it would have been if Kearns had done it.
The play deals with the last few hours in Ireland of young Gareth O'Donnell, who's bound for Philadelphia. As his departure approaches, he relives past moments and anticipates the future, both excited and fearful of what it might hold, and confused too about the many unsaid things he leaves behind. What makes this play special is the use of two actors to play the outer and inner faces of Gareth, or Gar as he's called. While Gar Public keeps a tight rein on his emotions, Gar Private reveals the man's longings, insecurities and dreams. Director Tricia Franks has not one ace but two up her sleeve in this production, Richard Davies and Terry Clinton as the two faces of Gar. These fine young actors conveyed a remarkable sense of balance and harmony. From their first minutes on stage together, they were utterly convincing as two reflections of one personality. Of the other actors, Isabel Denham gave a highly sensitive performance as the housekeeper Madge. With a trio such as this, I can absolutely forgive any occasional slownesses in the script. Go and see this one if you can.
Well, we were completely astounded at the action that the Waratah Estate Committee took yesterday. We had no knowledge of it, no forewarning of it, or no consultation about it until 5:15 last night when I was advised by the Town Clerk. And as I said, we were absolutely astounded.
In your mind, is Kearns still in the project or not?
We feel we are. We maintain that the tender we submitted in July 1981 is still in existence. At no time have we withdrawn that tender, and it is not our intention that we would.
That's the tender to purchase the Waratah site?
That is correct, yes.
So do you feel that Council is doing something illegally wrong?
I don't know whether it's illegal or not. I would suggest that perhaps it's unethical to have taken the steps of appointing a project manager to undertake the project when, as we maintain, the existing tender is still on foot.
What happens if Kearns is no longer involved in the Waratah estate? What happens to Kearns in Newcastle?
Well, Kearns Land and Kearns Sales Proprietary Limited will be closing up our office here, and myself and my staff will be moving back to Queensland, and as far as the other divisions are concerned, I can't say.
Provided a splendid backdrop for the service in Civic Park today. School students from all over Newcastle attended the ceremony, which was witnessed by veterans of the two world wars and local dignitaries. Keeping with tradition, crosses were placed in the ground surrounding the cenotaph in remembrance of those who gave their lives during the Gallipoli campaign. And a soul bugler, Dean Wrightson of Swansea High School, played the last post.
Speakers at today's session called for the region to find its own answers to the problem of growing unemployment. About 40 people gathered at the Tonella Centre to hear Jeff Connell from the Hunter Development Board and union officials Anna Booth and Jim Baird. The aim is to discuss and formulate viable job development programs in the region, with or without government support. Malcolm Rogers from the Worker Cooperative Development Agency says there's now a trend for redundant workers to get together and form a company which they collectively own.
In the first case, the incentive, in effect, to create your own job, I think is an incentive that's going to be fairly paramount in the minds of a lot of workers, particularly unemployed workers at the moment. And I also think it's a fairly attractive idea for a lot of workers, including workers who are still employed, to look at a situation where they may have far more control over their job and their work-life destiny than they currently do.
Six points in it at the moment. Only one in it again. 52 seconds left in it.
Still plenty of time for either team to win.
Dan Riley. What a nerve tingler. Dan Riley makes room, goes up, gets points. That could seal it. The gap is 3.
Wasn't the most confident shot you've ever seen, but it went in, and that's what counts.
Henry Billiard probably has won the game for the Falcons. Whoa, gee whiz. Striking. Heart attack material. Donny Ray. George Morrow loses possession of the ball. 19 seconds in it. Larry Senstock. Got it away now to the new man under the park, and that's Mark Kitching. Out of play.
That's the game.
To the side.
10 seconds remaining.
Throw it out the door now. Don't do anything stupid. Foul.
The billiard will go to the line.
This is driving in the last nail in the coffin.
Trailing by 12 points at half-time. They've really taken up to the opposition and played very well in this second half.
That's not going to nail in. The gap is 4. Goes high, Mark Kitching. Goes high, Tom Gerhardt. Goes high, Senstock. Got the points, but the Falcons win in a cliffhanger. 92-90.
For the past 68 years, war veterans and their families have gathered in Newcastle to remember those who have fallen. There was the reunion of old mates, the clinking of medals, and the shedding of tears. War had touched all those at this morning's ceremony, conducted by Matt Tapp. Wreaths were laid at the feet of the Cattle Party, formed by sailors from HMAS Bombard. The lament was played by Pipe Major Webster on bagpipes that his grandfather piped in Changi, to keep up the spirits of his comrades. The Lord Mayor, Alderman Cummings, addressed this morning's ceremony, calling for world peace.
There never was a greater tragedy than World War I, and a worse defeat than at ANZAC Cove.
Later, at the monument outside the Newcastle Post Office in Hunter Street, more returned servicemen and women gathered to lay wreaths. A long line of representatives from RSL clubs, Army, Navy and Air Force and community groups took part. The Hamilton Salvation Army Band played the Dead March, bringing the stark relevance of the monument to the fore. Brigadier Johns of the Salvation Army read the commemoration of the fallen.
We thank Thee for the dauntless courage of those defenders of our Commonwealth who have fallen in the cause of truth and righteousness.
The City of Newcastle RSL Club Pipe Band played Lament as each bowed head came forward to symbolically pay their respects. Some gave books, many laid wreaths, including those representing the women who lost husbands in action. Then, in contrast to this morning's early rain, the sun came out for the march down Hunter Street to Civic Park. The grey sky was matched only by the greying hairs of World War I veterans. Those who couldn't march took a taxi. Others got along under their own steam. The annual ANZAC Day marches and services both around Australia and New Zealand serve as a reminder to young and old that the most tragic legacy of any war is the loss of human life. Prayers said around the nation today will be for peace.
At about 12:30 today, the pilot, 23-year-old Stuart Huff, on a flight from Elders to Blacksmiths, radioed that he was in trouble with a jammed stabiliser trim on his Cessna 185. It belonged to the Newcastle Sports Parachute Club. The Williamtown RAAF base was placed on emergency while the pilot circled above, using up as much of his full tank of petrol as possible. That's 5 hours worth. But just over 1 hour later, Mr. Huff had indicated that he was going to attempt to land the aircraft with the stabiliser trim stuck in full nose-down position. Success, and a very relieved Stuart Huff. What had happened was that this trimming wheel on the inside roof of the plane had fallen off. The stabiliser trim locked. Mr. Huff managed to maintain control of the plane through some strenuous work on the joystick. After more than an hour, he became tired, he said, and decided to give it his best. And that was good enough.